Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the concession stand here on the KB Radio Network. I am your host, Kevin Reed, and this is the review of the new thriller directed by Christopher Landing, Drop, which stars Megan Frey. This film caught my attention, I believe, when I went to go see Wolfman back in January, and that was the first time I saw the trailer for this film, and I was like, that's interesting, an interesting premise. Color me intrigued. So I was waiting on pins and needles for this film to drop. Uh, I just, yeah, you saw what I did there. Anyways, that was not intentional. But I was waiting for this movie to be released, and as soon as the theater were ready to show this movie, I was there with waiting breath. This film is about a widowed mother who goes out on a date for the first time in forever with this handsome young man, and while she's on the date, she's receiving these messages on her phone, and with some disturbing instructions to murder her date or her son and younger sister who's babysitting them will be murdered. And going off of that premise, I'm like, okay, it seems like something we've seen before. I can't pinpoint where I've seen a concept like this right off the top of my head, but it seems like a premise I've seen before. So it wasn't something that I was like, oh man, an original concept. It didn't feel original, but I'm happy to report this film has some original tension. This movie is really good. This is a really, really good movie. One of the best of the year so far. Hands down. I don't have many complaints about this movie. Megan Frey, who I know unapologetically from seeing her on One Life to Live. And no, I'm not an avid soap opera watcher, but my mom do, and sometimes I'll go over to stop by, say hi during the day, and she's watching these, and I remembered her face on One Life to Live, and she was in other things as well, but I remember her from One Life to Live, and she does an incredible job as this single widowed mother here, as this battered woman survivor, abuse survivor. And man, it was impressive, I would say. And not to say that I thought of Megan Frey as this horrible actress, but you think of the fact that she's a soap opera actress, and there's levels to to acting. And when you say soap opera acting, there's a different style of acting there. And throughout this film, you can see shades of the soap opera in there. Not to say that's the only thing she's known for in her life, but it's just, for me personally, that's all I known her from, and or at least most familiar with her with. And she broke away from it for the most part, but there were some scenes here that actually called for her character to be soap opera, and I thought it fit well, and she did great. I mean, I the tension throughout this film, you can cut it with a knife, man. It was just one of those situations where you sit back and think, like, my God, I hope I'm never in this predicament. And she was stuck in this predicament where she couldn't cry out for help. She couldn't ask anybody to assist her and go save her son, and while she's in this restaurant and all this here, she was stuck. She was literally stuck. And man, you talking about a frightening situation for her to be in. Her co-star here, Brandon Scarletner, I believe, Scarletner. Sorry for butchering your name, but the cat from the TV show, the Yellowstone prequel, I think is 1923. He's on that show. But anyways, I liked him here, and he was also in that Blake Lively movie, the one that caused all the brouhaha uh, this past year with the director. I don't know why I'm blanking on the name now of that movie, but anyways, he was in that as well. But he did a decent job. He wasn't super impressive. He's probably one of my nitpicks in this film, and it's not that he did a horrible job, but it was pretty one note. His character, it really wasn't much to build on his character. It wasn't He wasn't flushed out as much, but the little bit that we did get, of his backstory and whatnot, it was interesting. It was good to see him and Megan Frey's character bounce off of one another. I thought that was very good. It kept you guessing throughout the film, like, is he on the up and up? Is he who he says he is? Is anybody who they say they are in this film? And that leads me to this story, this plot. Man, this is such a well written movie, a well directed film. The pace of it was just neck break. It had the pacing of an action movie. And it's no shock because this movie was produced by the great Michael Bay. And so he had his little thumb in there some way, shape, form, or fashion. And so it had a kind of a action movie speed as far as the tone, but it was really no action. Maybe one or two scenes towards the climax of the film, but nothing that's like, you know, just crazy edge of your seat action. But I love the way the tension built throughout this date. This movie takes place 95% of the time in this restaurant. You don't go nowhere else in the film other than her house. And that's at the very beginning and at the very end. And everything else is in this restaurant. And that's not easy. That is not easy to pull off, to build a story, build characters, and build tension and keep the story moving along in an interesting and entertaining way where we're just in one location for the entire run, or for the majority, I should say. But Christopher Landon did an amazing job. In case you don't know who Christopher Landon is, if you're a person of a certain age like myself, he is the son of the late Michael Landon from Highway to Heaven and Little House on the Prairie, and this is his son. And this isn't his first foray in filmmaking. He has made some amazing films in his career. Happy Death Day was amazing. Happy Death Day 2, it was decent, but it wasn't as good as the first. He also co-wrote a majority of the Paranormal Activity films as well. And I think just recently, Hard Eyes from a couple of months ago, he wrote that film too. And so he knows how to make good films. Now, those movies cheesy and campy? Yes, they are, but it fits the tone, and I enjoyed it. This was a different turn. There's not too much cheese and camp in this movie. It's really dark and serious at moments, and they had some moments where it was kind of, chuckle laugh, but it wasn't like Happy Death Day where they were kind of, making fun of themselves. But this was very tense, very intense, and I enjoyed every minute of it, honestly, man. The little plot twist that we get towards the end at the start of the third act, I'm ashamed to say, and I know a lot of people gonna go see this movie and gonna figure it out as soon as they walk in the theater. As soon as they bite their first kernel of popcorn, they're gonna know the twist. Not me. Completely took me off. I did not realize that little twist was coming, and who the assailant is, if you will. It got me because this movie had me looking at the left hand, and all the while the right hand was doing what it do. So when they revealed the right hand, I was like, oh, that makes sense. And it all makes sense. It's not silly. It's not out of the blue, like some movies do, where we get this just unwarranted twist that just doesn't fit the plot of the movie, doesn't fit the character and all this here. No, this time it fits. And it works. What didn't work, like I said earlier, the lead actor here, Brandon S. I didn't I didn't really feel his character, even though I guess in a way you weren't supposed to, but it just I don't know. I wanted more out of that character. I didn't get it. And the ending was a little convenient. It's a couple of things that happen in movie logic that just didn't quite get there for me. The ending, I'm not gonna say it wasn't satisfactory, but it was just like very convenient. In the real world scenario, none of this would have took place at the end of this in the end of this movie. But it was a fun time. It was a good time, and there was so much good leading up to that. I'm willing to just ride with it and accept it for what it is. Drop, which comes to us from the good folks over at Universal Pictures and Blumhouse, gets a letter grade of a B minus. Yeah, I think it's one of the best thrillers I've seen in a long time. In a long time, and I I don't take that lightly because you don't get good thrillers no more. You don't get a lot of good tense moments in movies. You'll get moments. I take that back. You get moments, but you don't get an entire film where 90% of the film you're kind of like, what's next? What's gonna happen? How is she gonna do this? How is she gonna pull this off? Is she gonna mess it up? Is she gonna actually do what she's told to do? It is so much tension in this film, and I loved every minute of it. I would love to know your thoughts. Email the show, kbradiopodcast@gmail.com. You can also search for the show on all social media platforms. Just search for the KB Radio Network. Subscribe to the KB Radio Network channel on YouTube and like this video if you don't mind. Don't forget about the 5 stars, the reviews, and sharing this show if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever you are currently listening to the concession stand here on the KB Radio Network. Everybody, thank you for joining me for this review of Christopher Landing's Drop. Want you all to know that I love you, continue to love everyone, and until we speak again, you all be blessed.